So in today's video, we'll be discussing Star Wars, the original trilogy, and how myth and rituals are components of it. Now, Star Wars is a modern myth that showcases the common themes of the hero's journey and the magic of mythology. George Lucas was really inspired by Joseph Campbell's Journey of the Hero. And Joseph Campbell is an American mythologist that created the Journey of the Hero. And it's very male-centric, which is why Luke Skywalker is the main character, not a female protagonist. But the hero's journey is basically a basic template for a great story, and every culture has one to tell, basically. It's a monomyth, which is a pattern that is found in many myths that include a hero, the protagonist, going on an adventure and facing many obstacles, and then returning home wiser, completely altered, and transformed. Now, the journey of the hero is split into three parts: departure, initiation, and return. And I think we really see that each movie serves as a function of it. As departure, I really see New Hope showing a lot of aspects of that. Initiation being more focused on Empire Strikes Back, and the return really being focused on Return of the Jedi. Now, Star Wars' journey for Luke is really an initiation right into adulthood. It's very transformative for him. He starts off as a little boy and ends with the franchise being much wiser and being the mentor, not the mentee. And this is very obvious in Empire Strikes Back with the mentoring of Yoda and the fighting of Darth Vader, that he is going through this initiation rite and ritual almost component. He goes through these phases when he enters the tree and feels the darkness and sees his father, and that's really him going through this ritual, and he does training and requirements for it. Now, New Hope is really showcasing a departure phase. Luke starts off within this ordinary world on the farm on Tatooine, and he hears this call to adventure from Princess Leia's message, and he knows she's in trouble and he wants to help, but he has to refuse the call because his uncle wants him to work on the farm with him. Now, sadly, his uncle and his aunt do pass away, and through the help of the supernatural aid, with Obi-Wan as his mentor explaining the Force and giving him his father's lightsaber, he decides to cross the threshold and join the mission with him. And he's stepping into this new life. He's leaving his old one behind. Also, within Empire Strikes Back, Yoda is the mentor within that film, just so that is clear. With A New Hope, Luke also faces the belly of the whale, and he finds himself trapped in situations that he has to get out of, just as the trash compactor or the Death Star attack where he has to escape before it blows up. There's also a scene where he has, I think it's called the magic of flight, and that's more showcased within New Hope than in Return of the Jedi, and that really is when the Millennium Falcon escapes the Death Star. Now, the initiation part of the hero's journey is more showcased in Empire Strikes Back. Luke faces the roads of trials, which is his training on Dobega, and saving Han from Jabba, and saving Leia from Jabba. He really faces a lot of trials and tribulations and obstacles in order to become this man and this Jedi that he hopes to be one day. He has the meeting with the goddess in New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, which is when he meets Leia and has this strange infatuation for him, which later we'll find out that she is his sister, and it's kind of weird. And a lot of people see Leia as the woman, as the temptress, but I really disagree. I think the dark side is a way better example of that. Leia's not really trying to stray Luke from his purpose, but the dark side is trying to turn the hero away from his purpose and his goal. And that's why I think the dark side is more the woman as temptress. Then he faces the anointment with his father in Empire Strikes Back, where Darth Vader is saved from the dark side. He's now back to being Anakin Skywalker, but he sacrifices his life, which is, I think, can also be considered the death of the king, for Luke. And then we see the apotheosis, which is the spiritual rise within the movie. And I think the two great examples for that is Luke becoming a Jedi. He has this spiritual component going on within him that he's like, I'm becoming a man, I'm becoming a Jedi, I have responsibilities now. And then I also think it's referring to the ghost of Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Anakin appearing in Return of the Jedi, almost there to guide him and to congratulate him for becoming a man. Then we see the ultimate boom within the movie, which is Luke's real goal and purpose. And Luke and Leia are the last Jedi in the film, and they realize they must rebuild the Jedi Order in order to save the galaxy and continue peace and order. Now, the return part of the hero's journey is we see the first component being the refusal to return, and that's really Luke saying that he doesn't want to go back to Tatooine, but he returns to the life of a Jedi, which is an origin that was denied to him because he was raised on Tatooine with his uncle and his aunt. Again, the magic flight component really more shown in New Hope when when they escape the Death Star via the Millennium Falcon, so I wouldn't really consider that. Rescue from without, that's when Luke is gaining help without knowing it from the Ewoks, and then the Obi-Wan speaking to Luke through his head. They're offering aid to him on his journey and advice. And then he really crosses the return threshold in order to become the master of these two worlds, which is becoming not only a Jedi, but completing his initiation rite and becoming a man, returning to adulthood and proving that he can face these responsibilities no matter what the cost was, even though there is definitely a cost. Then he has freedom to live. The mentee becomes the mentor, and he's wise enough to teach others and to rebuild the Jedi Order. And he states that's his next purpose after Return of the Jedi. Now we see a lot of mythic elements, the mentors being Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Oracle being Yoda, and Luke has to face this prophecy by himself where the Empire has to be overthrown by him. That's a very scary component to face. And we also see the failed hero, Biggs, who fails his mission to bring order. Now, there's a lot of magic components also within the Star Wars trilogy. We see the Force being this energy binding the galaxy and all these living things, and the Jedi Order has the power to manipulate this energy, and they want to use it for good. They believe that the Force has a balance to maintain, that the future is shaped by it, and that it's guiding the universe to the end. That's a belief. We see the Jedi and Sith adhering to the Force as almost a religious doctrine, actually. And that's a very interesting component, because then we have the question, is what the Jedi's practice and the Sith practice a religion? And George Lucas said that the Force is a religious-based concept, it's a religious reality. We really see the themes playing of good versus evil, and that it's based on Taoism and Buddhism as the Jedi philosophy, which I think is very interesting, that we see a lot of things about communing with life being involved, and how the Force is energy binding and intertwined with all life and all objects. And even others who can't use the Force respect and worship it within the franchise, almost as if it was a religion. They even go as far as saying, "May the Force be with you," which sounds almost like a Christian thing to say, "May God be with you," or something like that. And how this religion is used within culture, there are two ways it's been being used. We see the Sith using it to abuse, and abusing it for power, to be able to control the galaxy and the universe. But the Jedi Order and the Rebellion use it more to spark hope, and to use it for justice. And we see these lightsabers almost being used as holy weapons in a sense. Now, why would I say that Star Wars is a myth? Now, myths are here to not only be a shared experience that we can all share together, not adults and children, not just one type, but it's also trying to teach us a lesson. And what Star Wars is really trying to teach us is the lines between good and evil and the balance of it. And what's justice, what's not justice, what's our moral code, and what do we adhere to? And when there is a moral code, do we decide to follow it or not? And I think that's what really George Lucas was trying to get with Star Wars and what he was trying to teach us. Now, within the movie, the cinematography is incredible. The film's use of color as representation, the rebels being associated with green and the Empire for red. We obviously see that the rebels are being associated for good and the Empire associated with evil. And the scenes within the Death Star seem very rigid and scary, and as if everyone's scared and on their toes, while the rebel base seems more to be about justice and working together for a common goal to make the world safe and world peace. And we really see that George Lucas decided to stick away from computer programs, stayed more true to like puppets and makeup, and trying to showcase the aliens and the sci-fi and the science fiction within the movie, this fantasy aspect of the movie being a holdover for myth, being represented more old school matter. Even within the new ones that you see of the new movies of Star Wars, they're still using puppets and makeup for a lot of the aliens instead of focusing more on CGI, which I think is very interesting. And the use of lighting and music creates this dramatic and adventurous feel to the franchise, especially with composer John Williams, who creates this incredible intro music and music that has become so noticeable within pop culture today, which I think is very interesting how this franchise has just like blown up and how the fans are very dedicated to it. Well, thank you for watching my video and have a good day.